Okay, let's just get started with this. I know that ads are about to start, but that's fine. How you doing this morning? Well, I hope. After a productive start for your day. Blows my mind that you get up this early and you begin work. Hello. Yeah. Okay. So yesterday. So looking through the thing and I posted Discord, so it's time I bought a product. I gotcha. I kind of took a brief glance at that last night. Why is the GitHub workspace not appended to the beginning of the part that's failing? That's the only question I had. Why is it appended everywhere else but not there? And then the assumption is that it's going to work. So that was my immediate question there. But I assumed that had been tried, and I don't have the time to give that. Gotcha. But does it fail on the NPM thing, the node modules thing, which is what I understood to be the problem? It looked like the right. So that does fix the node modules thing, but then the tests fail. Okay, so that was the initial problem with it. Okay. Yeah. I don't want to be rude, and obviously it's your Discord. My immediate thought on that was, if that was a Stack Overflow question, it had immediately been fired back. Okay, what have you tried? Like, it was like, oh, it's breaking. Anyone got any ideas? Like, what have you tried to do? Because you're just going to receive a bunch of, like, that's why I didn't reply, because it's like, well, did you try changing the path? So I'm always brought back to Stack Overflow when I see those sorts of questions where I'm like, what have you attempted to do? So, yes. Um, yeah. Yeah, I think it's the years of training. I mean, part of the problem with Stack Overflow is the bluntness with which that question's asked. So I think that's the key difference, right? I mean, you still need to ask the question of someone if they've got to a point and they're saying, okay, I'm stuck. What's wrong with this? Well, can you let us know what you've tried? Is quite a common response, because it's, you don't want to receive a bunch of the people saying the same thing or providing you with things you've already tried and then be like, well, no one's helping me. And I think that's where that comes from on Stack Overflow, is the propensity for a lot of people. I'm not saying I was doing that. I'm just saying the propensity of a lot of people to just be like, tell me what to do with this next. So yeah, but I totally get that. Stack Overflow is not a welcoming place to be. That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I did read through it. I'm not saying I didn't take the time to read through it. I um just do not have the time to go try and figuring out that sort of stuff. If I knew what it was off the top of my head straight away, I mean, like I said, I looked at it and the immediate thing was, well, hold on, why is the path not there? So it seems like that does change the behavior. Tests failing is that secondary to the problem? Is the actual problem caused by the lack of the path in front of that piece? Is it so when I was tinkering with the GitHub actions the other month with Mojo, it was basically trying to learn. We were checking out multiple repositories in the same GitHub action. Then you got to figure out which path you are in. So yeah, yeah. But I see the point there. People shouldn't be reprimanded for having a question. They should be guided to being able to ask a better question. Uh, gotcha. Solution is not generating the file she's trying to get generated based on the files in the node modules folder. Hmm. Yeah. Source gen feels like a golden hammer in a lot of ways to me. Like I'm tempted to use it more. Source gen works when loading the solution in the IDE, but not during the GitHub Actions build. Uh, is source gen a um? It's not part of the build though, is it? Or is it? Like that feels because hold on. Because I had issues with when I was doing the source generator stuff with the early Liquid Sky stuff. I had some horrible issues with getting that to stay in line. Um, source gen works on load installation. I'm thinking if she might have built a source gen project individually, then a project that uses it. But I think the source gen is recognized by tooling in VS as a roles and component in a way that .NET CLI does. Something I'm not sure the tool chain is quite the same when using the GitHub Action as to uh, yeah. Wow. There's a GitHub issue, source generators not generating sources, and it's been open since 2020, and it was still active uh in July last year. Bit compiler generated files. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm assuming what we learned from Snable and adding a cake build. Ah, I got it. That might actually achieve it. But huh. Yeah, as with a lot of things, it's like until you come up against those things, you don't really appreciate just how tricky they can get. Um, yeah, source generators so far, I haven't like. I love using reflection. I love using more dynamic code paths, right? I don't have an issue with that doing that, but I don't consider them to be beyond most developers at this point, working in a .NET code base. Code generators or source generators still leaves me with an uneasy feeling that um, maybe that comes from I've gone to look up something by namespace before and not found it like the mediator stuff because it puts it in the extensions namespace, which apparently is a standard, even though that makes it more confusing to realize, oh, this class doesn't exist. It's just being generated for me. Yeah. So we shall see. Anyway, Liquid Sky. Let's move sample API. Um, okay, so what I'm working on today on Liquid Sky. So that's where I started, right? I started over here. What I've done over the last 24 hours is I've tightened up some of the extra pieces, right? So yesterday we were focusing on doing some refactorings on the changes and stuff, getting those things stabilized. Yesterday I also fixed so that knocked down the changes piece. Uh, Obviously we did the task list requirement. Bug changes for MongoDB are not working. We fixed that the other day, right? Because that was the database not being set. I got the where are you? Create initiatives, update UI, provide user graphic QL, update API field task, update backend. A lot of things have actually gone in this next release. Oh, corrected the image uploader. So the image uploader was broken, so I did that quickly last night because that was bugging me. That was out of whack because you couldn't upload an image. You could upload a file, a document, but you couldn't upload an image. It wouldn't serialize. It wouldn't store properly. So that was a minor change there. I'd already written the code to do it, so I just had to adapt this. What else did I do? What else did I do? That's interesting. I got 2 confirmed registration processes, but that's funny. Yeah, so we got those things, correct image uploader, etc. So we got all those things done. Right now, I'm working on a thing that you actually highlighted very early on, is the ability to uh, row highlight. So instead of having to click on this, you get the entire row. You click on it and it selects, right? So yesterday I did this for an event, and what I noticed was the event was causing a flicker on the screen. So I'm like, okay, let me try and use signals. So what I've done is the task table has a currently a selected task. Actually, we can remove this at this point, right? And in the backlog component, right, we have the app task table, and then we can access this current task. So actually, I could probably mark that as output, right? Read only. That's a writable task that's read only. That's funny. That should still work. So then what we do is on the task detail, we have a input signal, which is, task changed. The concept being that when we click on this, we set the signal. This is listening and says, oh, I've got something. Now this changes because this happens, right? So the item becomes available and the effect fires, and now this is evaluated and is marked as visible. So we toggle this essentially, so this is no longer hidden. The problem is that when I do that, so this works nice and cleanly now. There's no flicker, which is good. No flicker is solved by the row select. We've got our row selection. That's good. We can see which one we've got. However, as you may see, we're not loading the details. And that is because initially that was caused by the when the item was loaded, we triggered this on, this was show, and we passed the item in that we were going to deal with. That's not going to work anymore. So, oh, that's why. That loads the detail for the item. Okay, so we probably need to do something slightly different here, which is we need to set a current identifier. Selected task ID string unbind, and then this dot equals current task dot ID, and then we need to fire on task changed, right? And then leave this in place, and then this is current task ID, right? No? Oh, selected task ID. Selected current is fine if this dot selected task ID. Yeah. Okay. So when we change it, we should set the ID and then mark on task change. Let's see if that works any better now. What the heck? Oh, I know why. I know why. I know why. I know why. No, I don't. We seem to have a chicken and egg going on. That's the problem. But this doesn't trigger. Is it a, because what will happen is when the store loads, it will trigger an effect as well, I assume. Oh, we got the flash again. I mean, it's working, but why does it flash? Oh, I bet you that. No, that's horrendous. It's something to do with adding that though. Async. Let's do this. Async await. Let's do await that. Okay. So now it's not going to work, but it flickers. That's enough to make it flicker. That's irritating. Why does it? But it doesn't update any UI components here. This is the only thing that updates the UI components. Um, const item equals that. If item equals undefined, return. That's that. That's that. I mean, we've got role selection in, but it comes at a cost of a weird UI flicker. Also, we now have a new bug because of the amount of tasks I've added. You can see, hold on. Yeah. So that role selection is really dodgy, isn't it? Oh, that's a, it's, it's deselecting first and then unselecting and then reselecting. But so it's selecting the role, but it's not, um, yeah, we need to fix that. Why is that? That works. But I mean, I'm not changing anything in response to it, right? Multiple, yeah, chatbots, column. Events. Um, oh, it's got the event code there, but it doesn't actually do anything. App. It doesn't, if you notice, it shows product selected. It doesn't actually show row unselect either. Oh, it will do that. Now it will. Okay. So in theory, that should be working correctly as far as row selection goes, but it's not doing. So it's letting me select that add task requirement. Now I highlight it. Now I unselect the previous one and reselect the new one, but it's not highlighting. So that's half done, but I think this screen needs to be redone anyway. A, this should be paged or something or infinite scrolled. B, this should move down with it. It shouldn't return back to the top when you click on something. The reload is happening. So this entire screen needs redoing. However, as far as row selection goes, you can click on the row. That, I mean, it's not really done in the spirit of it, is it? But clicking the row should slightly, it's not obviously you have to click the title. We do have highlight, so you do know which task you're about to click on. You are doing that. Like this bugs me when we play these games. In reality, like the spirit of this is clearly that it should work properly, but the problem is though that, as we well know, this can be a bit of a rabbit hole, right? Just doing this, I've changed numerous files. Okay, maybe not that many files because yeah. Oh, did I not commit the project stuff? Okay, we didn't commit the project stuff. We need to get that committed. Let's worry about that a second. Um, add project. Yeah. Replace, add project, call out with add edit dialog for project. Yeah. Also, we need to do one more thing on that project thing before I forget. So we have the concept of permissions, right? So this button should requires planning project create. Awesome. Thank you. That's very helpful, Sarahbot. Okay. So we need to make sure that we can still go. Oh yeah, that's not on that. That's on planning. Projects. We can add projects, yeah. If we remove that facility from Jeffrey. Seribot is definitely a good addition to a channel. This won't work because my user tokens are cached. My profile's cached. Oh, there we go. Projects, it's gone. Okay, so we do need to push changes down to the client at some point, but again, I think that is a larger strategy that needs to be handled. Morning, Delta. How you doing? It worked. Tog on it, removed it. It's fine. Some cleaning? Nice. That's just taking a sweet time to get around there, that's all. Okay. Just need permission to protect, create, project button. Not allowed. Cleaning is good. Commit. Okay. So this is the sort of thing I've come up against many times where if I'm working with a PM, they have a vision of what this should look like, or rather this should look like, and how it should behave. And they add a ticket that says we should be able to select a row, right? Well, we can select a row, but that behavior is off. So it opens up this. So I point this story half a point because I'm like, it's just a row select. We just added a row select. We do. Now I already did a little bit more because I changed it to use a signal instead of an event, which potentially I shouldn't have done. And actually, I think I might revert this change. Just purely because the flicker was there before, and it's actually making it a little bit more difficult. I suppose this isn't responsible for telling. This just updates itself. This subscribes to this, so it kind of is a little bit different in terms of its behavior. So maybe that not, but the signal, yeah. So again, the spirit of it, right? So I've had this multiple times. PM puts something like this. Clicking the row should select the detail, right? Now, clicking the row does select the detail, right? It kind of works. It doesn't highlight until you click it again if it deselects one, which is a bit of a weird behavior, which I think might be down to the tools. It also causes this weird refresh. But you can select a row now. You don't have to click just the title. So the I think points for looking forward to, although not looking back to. Yeah, I'm not saying I wouldn't point at a half point story, because again, based upon the title, right? But the problem is, it's the spirit of what you're doing as well. It's not just okay. Well, you can select a row, right? It works. I can click a single row and it will select that. It will always select that. Will it highlight? No, not all the time. That seems to be a weird behavior, right? So for getting one piece of behavior, I've now introduced some other quirks to the UI. So, right, if I was to release this, people will now go, oh, I can select a row. Oh, why is it not like that selecting every time, but now it doesn't select? So why is that happening? So yes, I would point this a half point if that's all it was. However, the 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 point I'm trying to highlight is there anything else that they're trying to get into this? Biggest question points answer for us are how much work can you take on? I'm not worried about pointing specifically right now. What I'm highlighting is the fact that yes, this looks like a really simple thing, but yet again, it's another thing that without the right sort of clarifications and the right sort of understandings can, you know, blow out of control. So I've done exactly what was asked. In theory, clicking a row selects the detail. But have I done it in spirit, right? And that's where do the lines get drawn there, right? Now, in reality, this is a task, not a planning item entirely, right? This should be a thing that just gets, okay, we need to do this, 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 and this. It doesn't require an entire planning item, potentially, but it does need clarification on what is done here, right? Because there's just having a row select doesn't necessarily mean that. Complete storage should go somewhere after the sprint. Yeah. Yeah. Are you talking about this? Yeah. Right now, these will all just disappear once this gets completed. All just gets marked and then doesn't show anywhere. But yeah, my point here is I've done what was asked. However, how crazy do I drive myself trying to fix this behavior right this second? Like that's every single time clicking properly right now. But that flicker is annoying me. Well, I want the behavior to be consistent. So if I scroll down now, there's no highlight, but I did select one. See, that's behaving properly with a flicker. I don't know why the flicker's happening. So watch this. If I remove this, right? And we set this dot item equals current task, right? No flicker. Now it's not loading the current item data, which is annoying. If I put this in there, does that still create that problem? No. So all that changed there was I don't load the detail. I don't know if I have enough information in that task to populate this, but that is weird how that causes a flicker. So that's clearly a better experience, right? The flicker is this loads the detail and repopulates, which triggers the effect. So calling this inside of there is probably part of the problem. Well, no, this would always do this. I know I just removed it, but that's fine. So load detail 4 will go and get it will go and patch the state of the task. Which refires the effect. So it doesn't matter where I do that. The effect refiring is going to do let me verify. Actually, here's how we verify that. Let's put that. Let's put that back. Let's remove that. Hey Pets, good morning. How you doing? Let's do this dot on task changed. Await that. Let's do console dot log. Effect is firing. Log task was changed. So I think what's happening is the screen is getting updated. I'm going to move that over there and bring this up here. Right. So effect is firing. That's interesting. Effect is firing task was changed. Effect is firing. Yeah. So the change of state fires the effect again. But it doesn't reload. It's not like it's got an infinite loop. You need this, by the way, to subscribe to that signal so that when it changes, you get told. If you don't do that and you just start referring to this task change in here, it won't do anything. So you have to actually get an actual reference to it for it to subscribe to that signal. That was my problem all along in the um, in the task list inside of the requirements. Why does it cause a flicker? I don't understand. So it fires this. I do this. It changes the store, which then fires this again. But this is getting ignored because obviously I've got the validation that if I've not already got it selected, select it. Otherwise, move on. Yeah, it is the store loading that triggers the state, the effect fire, because the store changes details. So again, I'm down to, I think that what happens if I do, can I do this inside of here? What don't you like about that? Ah, duplicate code. Does that change the behavior if I do that in an effect? Will it load differently? Or will it cause some weirdness? No, that 100% behaves the same way. Just the callback. It's the effect. It's the effect subscription. This is essentially listening to signals. So it is reacting. Um, I just to help constructing. I'm selecting one. I'm selecting them. It's not rebuilding the entire object again. Yeah, it's the effect that's refiring. I get what you're saying there, though. It would rebuild the entire thing. Okay. Green flicker on effect. Signal store. This could be the pattern I'm using for um the way I'm laying the page out. So that's what I'm saying, right? That's what I started with saying here, right? To do this properly, right? To I've achieved what was asked. A row selection works, but is that really in the spirit of what the PM would want, right? If I go back to the PM and say, well, I've got your row select, but that the flicker happens, they're not going to be happy. They're not going to go, oh yeah, that's awesome, let's do that. They're going to want to fix that. But right now, this is yeah, well, yeah. Um, what I'm saying is though that I've come up across it many times where the PM has really intended for more to be done and doesn't really consider it done, and like, well, hold on, why didn't you fix this, or why didn't this? I've come up against that many times. So the spirit of the task, and it comes down to, you know, talking. untracked. Right, but that won't do what I want there, right? So I can't do untracked async. Right, that's not going to do what I want it to do, surely. Oh, nice. That's cool. Let's not make that. Well, that does want async. That's impressive. Okay. Let's see what that does. No behavior difference there. What's the goal of the effect? So the goal of the effect is I'm listening to this signal, right? So this signal is actually selected in here. So when I select a row, I set the signal. This is indirectly subscribed to that. This says, okay, when it changes, let's do our thing, right? So that's what it's doing. Yeah, yeah. It's like a channel or something that you can just get all the data from. And you can you don't necessarily subscribe to it, you just listen to it changing. And this is what actually creates that hook for this component to subscribe to that. If I don't do this and I just refer to current task or task changed here, it will not work the way I expect. So whereas previously I had an event firing from here. By the way, the same problem occurred with the event. This would say on task changed, then I'd call detail.show, right? So this was responsible for doing that. Now I'm just saying, okay, here's how to determine how your task gets changed. So now the responsibility is not for this to um, well, the signal can't. Well, that's what the effect is doing. I'm not saying I don't subscribe an event to that signal. The signal just gives me data, and when it changes, I can react to that change. That's what the effect does for me, right? I'm not able to say, oh, subscribe to this, and when you do this, do this. You can't do the subscription like that. So the effect is the direct react to that having happened. So I mean, I've called it task changed as a signal because that's the task. But yeah, as I understand it so far, it's not something you can just you don't subscribe to it. You just react to it changing. Um, yes, yeah, yeah. The effect is, hey, the value changed. So it's meant to be much more responsive and performant inside of the browser. So than the traditional methods of getting data changes. And it's clearly working, but it's just, do I have a pattern here that is not sustainable? Now, what I could do is load the detail on the other side and then pass the loaded detail. I mean, ultimately, this load detail for, by the way, is just trying to make sure that there's any information that I don't have, like associated objects, right? This fetch one will pull more data down than the regular fetch, right? So the regular fetch all actually pulls quite a lot of stuff now. Requirements, sprint, assigned user, created by user. Requirements, sprint, assigned user, created by user, updated by user. Not sure it pulls any less right this second. Other than that, if that's the case, then right now we can get rid of that entirely. So we can just do that, that, that. Equals that. That's a rarely needed in most application code, but may be useful in specific circumstances. Okay. I haven't seen it. This is exactly why I'm trying to. I need to reach out to Exocamil and figure out. Computed signal. Maybe. Yeah, more stuff to learn. Well, so right now, I'm loading all the data I need into this view. So when I select this, I know full well that I can trust that all the data is there. So what's the right pattern here? I'm not sure then. If effects are not meant to be used, and I'm using effects because that's what it demonstrates. Do you have a link to that documentation? Maybe I can read up and see if I can now apply a different pattern. Oh, the signals documentation's pathetic. Yeah, it's light, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. Um, um, Computer signals are both lazily valued and memoized. Computer signals are not writable signals. I mean, in this instance, I don't want this to be writable. Um, what I've found so far about this documentation and also the NGRX signal store stuff, right, which is the stores built around um, the stores built around this, which is what I'm using, is the documentation is, yeah, brief. Um, yeah, and also they do some stuff. That I believe, unless this is actual a thing. I've had it where I've tried to put an effect into a method. It's like, no, you can't do that. It has to be in a constructor or initializer. It can't be outside. Um, so computer looks like it re-updates the value of conditional count whenever you click show count. Yeah. Yeah, because what I could do there is okay, so But my problem still is like what that's doing is that's using an effect to change the value, and that's the value. What I'm doing is I'm using the effect to listen to a value changing, and then going loading more information, which also triggers a signal. That's the problem. I've got this. It's going to fire the signal again, right? So it's going to change. It's going to fire this effect again. So even if I use a computed effect, which piece of it is computed, right? So the computed signal. Sorry. Um, yeah, I'm learning. I'm growing, but right now that does what I want it to do because all I had to do is add the last updated, and even that wasn't even showing. But it's worth having because that will load that into the store now. So technically, when you load the screen, all the tasks are loaded in, right? So it gets rid of the flicker. It means that the select works, and we're in the spirit of that. Is it ideal? No, no. That's funny. Uh, um, but well, I click show count. Show count changes the value, which then needs to go and get more information, which then triggers the effect because I'm listening to the effect, right? Um, so I'm not using a computed effect, a computed signal in there, but um, how else would I do that? So I'm setting this as being the so I create it in there and I set it. That's the one I'm handing it. So my at task detail. So that's my signal. That belongs to this. All right. When I select a row, well, I hand an instance of or reference that signal to this. When I select it, when I signal it, that fires that. And when that fires, I set ID, call load on store, and that's that. The problem is that this is in an effect. Yeah. Well, I don't have show detail at all, right? I don't have the show row is the visibility of that is handled by the visible feature of this control, and this visible control is handled by having an ID, an item set. So once the item's set, it's visible. If the item's not set, it's not visible, right? So I'm not explicitly calling it anything. This has no knowledge of detail. It just says, okay, I've selected, by the way, I've selected something, right? It signals I've selected a value. Anything can subscribe to this list or subscribe to, or can listen to that signal. So all I'm doing is an effect to capture that that's changed. Now, if I did a computed on this, how would I do that? So if item was a computed signal, Let's try. Let's try. I know I fixed the problem, but let's do this. Let's um, um, move tasks list detail to using signal. Load all data in for tasks. Batch all. Batch one. Yeah. Yeah. To prevent flicker of firing effect twice. So here's what we're gonna do. We'll change this to be a computed signal, right? So if we change this to be a computed, it's just computed, right? Yeah. And in here, we have if has changed. Oh, we need to do something similar to the effect still. So we remove we comment out the effect for now. Right. We do that. We say if current task not equal to null and current task task.id not equal to selected task ID, then what can we do? Then we can do does this accept async? Async let item equals async await this dot store dot load detail for this dot current task dot id. Then I think this becomes what I've got in load. We'll just figure that out in a second. I think I can just use a function, a method, but we'll find that out. Let item task equals this. We need to resolve the item. We're going to make this. This is going to be a signal of task. If we do return item, it should fix that now. Yeah. Task undefined. Return undefined for right the second. Const item this dot selected task ID equals item ID. Again, what I want to do is I want to get in touch with Excel Camille. I need to find the time to set something up so he and I can chat, and also then kind of plan a couple of streams maybe, and then go through on stream some of this, so that someone who understands how to develop these effectively and correctly and use the tools properly can help with the training, and we can share that with everybody else. Because again, a lot of this, it's not really documented. Not sure about hide. Do that. It's not really documented. So what it's saying is item will become, once we will subscribe to this, so when we change the task, so when this signal changes, this one will compute and will go and do its thing, and we're not going to use effect at all there, and that will return item. However, we still need to set the form. We still need to do this. Okay, which seems heavy now. So item, 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 item. Let's see what that does. This condition will always return true. Task detail. If item. Oh, that's funny. Might not do what I want it to do. Not right then. Signal promise. Oh, that means that's going to be this, isn't it? Oh, yeah. Await. Can you do await in here? You can't do await in here, can you? It's not that. Something to do with that. Um, the result of async type that's variable angular. It's made it a promise because I've got the await in there. User let user, there you go, that's how I do it. Let item. Were you working like that in there? Does not support parameter. Damn it. You can't API, maybe it should just return details. Should fetch details. So what I'm doing there is saying, okay, well, if this changes, right, this will recompute. So if it changes, then we're going to go and get the task. If the task is different than the one we currently have, right, so if we click on the same thing, it won't load it again. Go and load the detail for it, which actually populates the store and then returns that currently selected task. And if we've selected it, right, we do that. Otherwise, we return undefined, right? So but this becomes a promise because we've got async. I don't quite understand how to break out of that. So the idea being there to the point, the effect isn't constantly being evaluated, which should still prevent the flicker, but this is computed based upon this value changing. And this is what's going to tell it. I'm subscribed to this, by the way. So when we toggle the task changed, we should get the right behavior. Again, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But yeah. But the problem is now everything in here is async await. So all this is if await this dot item. So how the heck do I stop that being a promise? So if I remove that, okay, remove that, still promise. Oh, because I can't avoid the promise. Because I don't need it to be async or, I mean, yeah, but then I'll still return a promise. Because I'll need to resolve it then. Actually, no, because I won't have an item until that is resolved. So even if I do then, it doesn't change the behavior of this. It still becomes a promise because the then I still need to resolve later than the flow. So this is going to return that promise no matter what. I can't, because I need to do that, I can't do anything but return. This is a signal promise. So const item equals await this dot item. Right, and that becomes that. What are you still erroring at? What do you like? Message service does not appear. Did I really get rid of message service on this? I did. So over here on the view, ng container, start ng if equals item async let item. And then this becomes item again. What's that subscribe doing on? SD component line 60. It's not working. Writing to signals is not allowed in a computed. Awesome. What's the subscribe doing on form group? Oh, this is when you're changing the value. This is observable. So when you change the values of form values, it debounces it for 600 milliseconds, so you can change more than one field. Gets to distinct changes, and then yeah, fires this event. But either way, that was it doesn't really matter anyway because it's moot. This changes the state. because this is a computed signal, you can't change state in a computed because it has the base off calculated. So this can't happen anyway. So it is a moot point. So for right now, what we have is going to have to work. It's loading all the detail it needs, which is good or bad, right or wrong. It is what it is. Worth reviewing. Definitely worth coming back around on later. But in talking about the spirit of this is now more in the spirit of what was intended when the it doesn't roll select was said. We're not causing any flicker. It's loading the data. We just got to figure out how to combine effects so that we don't trigger multiple times. No worries. Have a great day at work, Dota. Thank you very much for the discussion. It really does help to have some, even if it's like trying to learn at the same time. Challenging my understanding of it is always really useful. So it has given me some more insights. So thank you very much. As always, appreciate it. Okay. So I'm gonna say that's smooth right now. That's functional. We've got rid of the have to click the text. That's the primary goal here. So I'm gonna say that is effectively done. We're pushing these to development because these are, again, fixes that need to be done, and I'm not messing around with branches and PRs when I'm the only developer, and I'm not. Right this second, that's just more pain than it needs to be for a stream. Is it the right thing to do? No. All right, so we can highlight the row on the task backlog now. Okay, I think this has been done of extension library. I think I actually did achieve this already. And I think we're on 1.0.1.2. Yeah, we're on 0.1.2 anyway. Mediator sagas doesn't matter. We're not using mediator sagas. Let's remove the pre-release as well. Yeah, okay. So that actually has been done as well. Okay. Cool. So it's been several months since the last test release of this. Over the next couple of weeks, I do have some things coming up, which are going to mean that I'm going to have some challenges with timing. Next Tuesday, I won't be around. I have doctor's appointments. The following Thursday, I have a surgery happening, so I won't be around then. I'm possibly not streaming on the Friday after that. So I've got a few life events coming up, which is going to prevent some progress here over the next couple of weeks. That being said, I do want to continue to make progress. So anyone new to the stream, this is Liquid Sky. This is the project management planning platform I'm building. This is the current list of items that we have from a planning session we had a few months ago. Yeah, they finally agreed to operate on the knee, like I said. And I've been reading up the documentation, and basically I need to have my foot elevated and iced, or my leg elevated and iced, for about 5 days post-op, which is going to be an interesting challenge. And I can't drive for several weeks afterwards, which again is a fun challenge. I am, however, going to have to use rideshare for the first time, I believe, to get around to some things. That's going to be fun. Okay. I'm going to miss driving for several weeks. Like I only get to drive a couple of minutes a week right now because obviously the work from home thing takes the load off there. But yeah, I still enjoy driving, as we said on Friday. Images do not load properly. When I attach an image to a planning item, I expect to be able to download it. Actually, this is handled. So that's completed. Actually, let's verify that. So let's go and make sure I find two. I'm going to find two files. I'll put them on the desktop so I know exactly where they are. Pictures. Let's take. I gotta make sure I select an image that's appropriate. By that I mean, not personal, not that I have a lot of inappropriate images on my desktop. Oh wait, that's a lie. We drove about 10 minutes away to the countryside last Thursday to see what planets we could see in the sky. You know, I'd specify in the sky since that wasn't obvious. That's hilarious. Okay, let's do this. And let's do. Appropriate. I'm trying to find a few documents that I can use to um, um, highlight that the upload is working properly. Apparently, I used to be much better at trying to keep stream notes, so I could um, okay, that's an appropriate one. Okay, it's just a random producers and consumers doc. Okay, so I've got 3 files on my desktop. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna try and achieve these. Now, what this does highlight is one of the things I want to move to is kind of having groups and teams, right? And I've got to think through the logistics of this, right? Because the concept would be we can have a unified sprint schedule and we can have a unified backlog and everyone starts the sprint at the same time and you can switch perspective to different teams as to which items they're working on. However, the ability to have Kanban boards, and I think QA is more Kanban based in some respects, but that obviously causes problems for release and all those sorts of cycles. However, the concept of having different groupings, so you would know what is QA versus dev tasks in general, it's something I want to introduce, but also it does highlight I want to verify these 2 requirements. How do I verify I've tested them? and approve them. So there might actually be something to do with the PM needing to kind of approve this cycle. But anyway, what we need to do is go to over to the planning items. We need some loading indicators as well. Go in here. No, I don't want to do that one. I used that for attachments yesterday. We want to choose desktop, right? That's interesting. Okay, let's select those three. I prevent docx. That's interesting. Anyway, we got the JPEG and the PDF, so let's upload them too. Right, so they say they uploaded. So let's have a look at the image. Right, we can open that. Can we see the image? Yeah, that's the image. Right, so that's the one I downloaded. And that's the one on the desktop. That's the one I uploaded. Okay, now let's go and have a look at the PDF. My games collection from 2021. I can open the PDF file. And let's go look at the desktop version just to make sure the desktop version opens. It looks like it does, being that it's previewing it. And there we go. We can see a preview of the games collection from 2021. So let's go and look at that download. Downloads. It says to validate. We can open a PDF. Okay, so we essentially match those two things, right? So when I upload a JPEG, PNG, or GIF, I should be able to download the file and see what I uploaded. Yes, check, done. When I upload a TXT, doc, or PDF, I should be able to download the file and see what I uploaded again. So this is an area where the developer should have pushed back and said, whoa, 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 we don't allow doc or docx, right? We're not providing document files, right? And if that was well, we should do, well, now we've got another requirement, right? We need to, it's not images do not upload properly anymore. It's we need to be able to support these file formats. Yes, that seems like a really trivial thing, but maybe it's not. Maybe it does cause a problem. So it does need to be tracked as a separate thing. Right. So over here, upload attachments should support further file types. Right. And we're going to set that to required by a review by April 16th. Going to go to me, and it's going to be on the client, right? Oh, I need a description. Okay, fair enough. Docx cannot be uploaded, right? So we know at least one requirement should support docx upload. Doc upload. I should be able to select a doc or docx file to upload Word documents, although not as common anymore, are still yeah. So we need to do that. And the reason we're going to create a planning item for that is so that we can actually set the time aside to go and do that explicitly and verify that it's working. If we just do it as part of something else, well, we lose that thing, right? So we lose the visibility. We lose the fact that we've tracked that as its own thing, and that's a challenge. But as far as the upload, images do not upload properly, we validated that we can upload a JPEG. We did not upload a PNG or a GIF, so a GIF. GIF. So let me go see if I have any of them. I'm trying to move. I've got some personal pictures on them. I'm trying to make sure I don't. share things I don't want to share. Game Trove mobile.png. I probably don't have any GIFs to hand. It's not something I generally save, right? Let's open with GIMP. File, save as. Oh, hold on. Is it save as or export? Export as. Yeah. Okay, so we now have a GIF of that. GIF. Let's be thorough in this testing. Okay, let's choose. We have our GIF and our PNG. Open them, upload them. Oliver resets, that's annoying. Okay, bad connector Orion. Confirmed. And our Game Trove Mobile. That's my favorite version of this application. The game stuff. Best version. That was on Xamarin, I believe, with Sync Fusion controls. Maybe that's actually a Blazor site, that one. I don't know. That might be the Blazor version with Sync Fusion. But anyway, that side, we have fixed that problem. So we can go back over here and say that is done, and that is essentially 50% done. Well, 66% done. The TXT I did test. I have no belief, but let's validate that once more. Again, trying to be thorough. Don't want to leave that open. Let me just find something with my secret passwords in it. Laser games. Save that. Go here, attachments, choose lasergames.txt, upload that, 82 bytes, go there, open, and yeah, that opens, and there's the original. So we've lost nothing. Okay. We are going to say that is completed. Now, what would happen, what I want to happen there ultimately would be we've identified that this requirement has something missing. We probably want to create a planning item from a requirement so that we can loop back to why did we create this planning item? You know, she's done planning items, create planning item from requirement. Want to track. We should be able to. Because that will give us insights, right? That will give us potential insight into why we didn't do that particular component, because we can also link forward and backwards off that. So that's probably something we want to deal with. Anyway, indicate presence of comments and attachments. That's kind of done now. When a comment is present on a planning item, a small indicator should be present to indicate there are comments. When attachments are present on a planning item, a small indicator should be present to indicate there are attachments. When a comment is present on a task, a small indicator should be present to indicate there are comments. So these two don't really make much sense, and these two are kind of handled already because we do have the number. Comments, attachments, requirements, right? We have the number telling us there's actual requirements to be had. So I want to say that those two are kind of handled. We don't support commenting on these right this second, so that's one of the other things that's in the list of things to do. Although I'm still not entirely certain that comments are. I think comments in that context are valid, but I think comments as a whole is kind of its own piece of system. Could be Mongo driven, and basically it's I have an ID, a type, an ID, and I have a comment. It's an interesting design challenge though, because one of the benefits of using Mongo would be that we have a document DB to pull from. However, in the current form, we read and write to different data stores, right? So I'll read from and write to different data stores. So would that break the design? Does it make sense to have comments as a globally accessible API? So if we go to the overview, right? If comments were kind of global, so you could comment on anything, you just needed a key. Does it make sense to have comments be a write store with a read component to them, or what? Do we just read and write to the same thing, and the kind of a little bit of a difference in how it behaves? In that, if you want comments, you can just go and ask for the comments, and it's actually a different API entirely. Not entirely sure what the right thing to do there is. But either way, this requirement has been kind of met, or these two requirements are met. Actually, I went beyond because requirements have an indicator as well, right? Oh no, comments on tasks and attachments on tasks. Well, we don't currently have these two things. So yeah. Comments on tasks. I should be able to see a button to add a comment. When clicked, I should be able to see a dialog that allows me to capture a comment, right? So in the current way it's designed, the system, right? Tasks would have its own comments table, right? So right now, if I go to the database and I go to planning, right? Planning has a comments table. Pretty standard fare, right? That's a normal thing to have, a comments table. I still think I want to explore the concept of having a conversation or a discussion rather than comments. So here, I think this should be discussions, and it should be more essentially allow for a more forum-based approach, but kind of a list of discussions rather than actual individual comments, because a comment might help, but it doesn't really add value or context, because generally you're adding a comment to do what? To add some extra context to the thing. Well, change the thing, right? If it's a requirement, you should be changing the requirement. Maybe requirements have comments, but I don't think planning items has comments necessarily. It's still something I'm trying to think about. And again, trying to focus on the discussion, the intentional capture of the conversation around the planning item is something that I want to keep trying to achieve. Changes Changes aren't really going to be much value at this point, but I think changes are now flowing. Where would I see that? I would see that in the data, right? I would see that in here, DBO tables, changes. Yes. So we've started to get a flow of changes coming through again, right? So that makes sense. That being said, I think we do not have the changes component. Did I remove the changes component? Views, modules, planning, components, changes. Maybe. Let's have a look. Planning items. Find usages. Identifier. I think that's all I really need. I don't know what you're red squiggling, but that's fine. Planning items, app initiatives. Uh, planning items found. Components. Planning item expansion panel. Yeah, here we go. Placeholder for changes. Let's see what happens if we. Let's see if we. What happens if we just add it in? What's the worst that happens? Item.id. Item is. Oh no, that. Let's see what happens. It's loading, so we might need a loading spinner at some point as well. That's probably going to be helpful. Oof. Yeah, that component doesn't like being added in there, does it? Yeah, that's going to require a little bit more work. And for so I'm not entirely sure that changes. Oh, you just not you just broken now? We just busted you. Changes component. Oh, because it adds that and that breaks it. Yeah. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so I'm not sure changes lives there. Changes might live over here. I'm trying to figure out how I ask for some feedback on this, like if there's any opinions or comments. Things like, do you believe that a planning item really needs a description? Because right now I'm thinking it's the goal. right? So I think a planning item has, in this version, I think I still call it the title. I still have title and description, um, but the intent is not to have, um, like the title is referred to as a goal, right? Um, so a new planning item, we don't have. Oh yeah, the title. The goal is the description. Is what the description is. Do we need a description? Is there, sorry, anything other than a title for the planning item and then a goal, a targeted intent? But then this details, is that really useful? So the changes essentially going there. So adding a comment, indicating presence. I think these are kind of done. We don't have comments on tasks. Maybe that's what we move to next, but I'm not sure I want to proceed with that. Comments and tasks, developers don't tend to mess around with the tasks once they've done them in my experience so far. So again, how do I gauge that? I don't want to um I don't want to skew anybody's view on this. So that one's still ready for planning. Let's move that there. Planning item dependency. This one is an interesting one. So I need to finish A before B, right? There's also another offspring of this, which is kind of like requirements priority. And it's funny, I was playing around with it with AI stuff the other week, and without even mentioning it, it actually brought up that concept of having not only the planning item dependency but the requirements dependency. So you have to say, okay, well, this requirement has to be done, and it should be done. It should be validated before this, or it has priority to it. That was quite an interesting conversation. But I think maybe what we'll focus on for tomorrow is a planning item dependency, because I think that is another thing that is very, very useful. So let's try and plan this out a little bit. So as a product owner, project manager, I need to be able to add a dependency on another planning item to a planning item to aid in ordering my planning. I don't think I could have made that any more obscure. Select required planning items. I think it's more than one potentially. As when adding planning item. When I'm adding a planning item, I should be able to select a list of planning items on which this planning item depends. So there's also the inverse of this as well. And Jira does have this concept of you can kind of set these weird, funky rules at the bottom. And basically what we're saying here is these planning items have to be done before this one can be done. But also you can flip it and specify these have to be done after this is done, right? These should be taken up next. And the reason for that is if developers are picking out the stories or reviewing the requirements as they should be doing with this, right? Their focus is drawn in the right direction. So if they pick up a planning item and it says it depends on these three, and they haven't looked at them, they should go review those three and validate that they've got all the planning on them first, because unless those are planned, this one has no relevance and could actually change the output of this one, right? So you want to make sure that the developers are able to understand what order things should be picked up in. And similarly, this comes next. So if you plan this, go to these next ones, right? the problem with that is you got then an implicit, oh, it depends on. So you could infer it depends on from a do next as well. So we can talk about that. I should be able to select the list of planet items in which this planet item depends. This is not a required field. I should be able to search for the planning items by title. That's going to be a complicated one, right? When editing a planning item, select required planning items when editing item. As with adding, I should be able to edit the list of planning items to remove the planning items. Saving without changing. No. We'll go into that later. Should I explicitly specify, or should I explicitly state, oh, by the way, when you save and you don't change anything, it shouldn't wipe them out or anything, it should load them. That's going to be a little harder. That might be one where we benefit from a data structure change in the SQL side and the query side of things, because it's quite heavy on the back end. As with adding, I should be able to, so selecting when you add and when you edit. Should see list of required planning items when viewing. In the details panel, the one that I just thought I wouldn't have anything in, we should see a list of planning items that this planning item has dependencies on. The list. To the tasks list under requirements. We don't have any UI UX on this. Again, just showing that idea. So yeah, it's been a quiet stream today. I mean, I know I didn't post in channels today, but that normally, considering it's my stream and your stream, I didn't believe that got much. How much traction? Had to drop off. Been liking. Thanks for stream. Apex, thank you very much for hanging out. Appreciate it. Have a great day. I'll see you again soon. Okay, this should be similar to the task. So we don't have any UI UX, but that's the goal. So we can add, we can edit, we can list them. I'm not going to put in this because I think it's actually not sensible. But one of the things we can't do is actually go and look at that other planning item from this planning item. We can't click it and navigate to it because we've got a list. That's a challenge with what we've got in this design, right? We can't go, oh, well, you know, like similar with the requirements. Find one with. If I find one with, right, I can't click on these and view these or whatever. So this is a definite flow challenge because you'd want to see the details on this potentially. Like what are we actually saying we're going to do is this, right? I can already visualize those things happening. But if we put a list in similar to this of depends upon, right? If we do it over here, whatever, depends on, then yeah, what does that look like? So we'll get there, but I think that's one identifier, one thing that tells me there's a little bit of a smell in terms of design there. So we can see them, we can edit them, we can add them. I think that's a good next step. So I think what I'll try and do is I'll actually try and task this out a little bit. So ready for planning means that this is now able to be picked up by the developers, can be worked, can be tasked out and discussed, and then we move to in progress once we are happy that it's doing. I think there's other statuses we probably need to discuss there in terms of what does actual status mean? How do we dictate that? Is this more dynamic to the user? This right now is a bunch of strings, so quite possible. But yeah, so I'll start tomorrow's stream, hopefully with some of this tasked out. That will be my focus later on this evening, to get some of this tasked out and prepped, ready for tomorrow's stream. Probably start working on it off stream. Yeah, we are. Once that is done, I don't think there's much stopping me from trying to get a release to the machine so people can give it a test again. I think it addresses some of the initial problems that this had. And it does become a little bit more useful. We can assign things so you can use it. But yeah. But anyway, that is me for today, I think. What I'll do is I will, if you are lurking and you are interested, you're more than welcome to join the Discord. YouTube, as always, has been very quiet. I will be back tomorrow with more Liquid Sky. I think I'm on a normal schedule for the rest of this week. Next week it gets a little messy, and then the week after messy again. But that's for then. So don't forget, it is Wednesday. One Line streams Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you like .NET content and different .NET content than mine, you're more than well, I recommend checking out One Line. But that is me for today. We're going to raid Anna. Anna is working on her web writers platform because absolute overachiever. Game engine, web writers, all of the stuff, building tools from scratch all the time. I wish I had the energy to even learn 50% of what she knows. But anyway, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you. And I will see you again tomorrow. Take care, all.